Living the good fat life with your host Karen and Sherry. They'll help everything align for your body, soul, and mind. The good fat life, whether change comes slow or dramatically. The good fat life will help you sort things out organically.
That song makes me laugh every time. Jim Gilligan, hey, welcome to be here today. Thank you so much.
Awesome,
yeah,
Karen.
yeah. So Sherry is out living her good fat life still, and you are our guest and our co-host today. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Awesome to be here.
Yeah,
Karen.
and thank you. Speaking of Good Fat Life, don't forget to subscribe to Good Fat Life magazine. You can go on our QR code that comes up on the screen, or you can go to www.goodfatlife.com and check it out. And one of our contributors to the magazine is Jim Gilligan, right? And so, Jim, tell us what you do for the magazine and why you're here today, and what you do in your real life.
Well, there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
I own Snedicor's Drycleaners.
Okay.
We're Livingston County's only environmentally friendly GreenEarth dry cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
I also spend a lot of time in the woods, on the lakes. I'm an avid outdoors person / environmentalist.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the woods and being connected to nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I support Good Fat Life. I have been on board since day one, pretty much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. The need for good quality fats specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Our human diet has gotten so out of control, just so wrong in the last 150 years or so, and we're ingesting bad fats.
Right.
And we need to get back to the good fats and get back to good health.
Yeah, and good fats in your body, your mind, and your soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, so tell us about. So, I think when people say when they hear dry cleaner and environmentalist, they don't put the two together normally. So, tell us how that connects for you.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Michigan, hunting, fishing, paddling boats, and just always been really connected to this beautiful land that we live on.
Mm-hmm.
And got into the dry clean business. It was the family business, and when we got into it, there weren't any environmental concerns because no one knew,
You're right.
what the impact was.
Yeah.
Started learning more about it into the 90s, and by the late 90s, I was quite sure that there would be an environmentally friendly solution for the dry cleaning industry. And sure enough, by the early 2000s, some front runners had come to head, and by 2007, we had converted to the GreenEarth cleaning method. And GreenEarth cleaning utilizes liquid silicone, which is made from liquefied sand.
Okay.
So it's non-toxic, it's not a VOC, it's not a groundwater contaminant. In fact, if we had a dish here and we put some GreenEarth solvent, it would look like water. It's clear, and let it sit for about 10 days, it would convert back to a pile of wet sand.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And why is that better for the environment? Tell us about what the other chemicals are doing in the environment, and what is the how the effects are different.
Sure. Well, the most common solvent used in the dry cleaning industry is perchloroethylene or perchlor or trichlor, many different names. And it's a petroleum product, and it is a VOC, so it affects the atmosphere. And then it's also toxic to humans. So there's very serious concerns with indoor air quality. It affects the liver. It's known to be carcinogenic. And so folks could unknowingly think they're living a very healthy life and bringing their dry cleaning home from a traditional perc dry cleaner, not realizing they're off-gassing this perc into their homes at rates that are considered to be hazardous by our agencies that in charge of those.
Wow. People talk about dry cleaning. They're like, oh, I can't afford dry cleaning. But can you talk to us about how important really dry cleaning is, and how in the end it really saves money and time and effort really for the community and globally, and how important really it is?
Well, it's so important now. I mean, we've fallen into this fast fashion.
It's like one-time wear.
Yeah, or no time wear.
Yeah.
Fast fashion basically is items that quickly come to market it's gone from 2 seasons, wardrobe seasons a year to like 5, where they're just constantly switching out. And these fashions are quickly designed by design firms and then picked up by big companies that have overseas facilities. And what makes the fast fashion so incredibly profitable for the companies is they place their sewing operations, their manufacturing operations in countries that have no environmental laws, so they can just dump their waste into the waterways and onto the ground through the smokestacks. There's no regulations. And they pick the same countries because they have no humanitarian standards. So they exploit women and children to get this cheap work done. And as we've seen in some disasters where some of these places have collapsed,
Or
where they
caught on
had
fire.
yeah, you know, they locked the doors because they didn't want the people to you know, go outside for a breath of fresh air or whatever. And then you know, the most recent big one was like 1,100 people perished, I think, in India.
Wow.
In one of these sweatshops. The average American disposes of about 78 pounds of clothing and shoes every year. That means they go to landfills every year. And a pretty high percentage of that is never worn. So in other words, they're at the discount store and see this thing, and it's like, oh, I want that. And they just buy it. There's not the, I don't know. I mean, I love wool garments. I wear, you know, I've got wool sweaters that are 30 years old. If I wasn't in my logo wear, I'd be in my black wool T-shirt. And I feel a connection to those. And I just love that feeling of putting on a nice merino wool sweater when the days start getting cool and so on. And people have lost that connection to their garments.
Yeah, I love clothes that have a history.
Yeah. And you know, you pull that one favorite thing out of the closet and it just feels so good. It could be a year old, it could be 30 years old, and that's where dry cleaning comes in. Now, dry cleaning, it's a bit of a misnomer. Dry cleaning, we do use a liquid. It's not a completely dry process, but it's devoid of water. So that's where it comes in, the dry chemicals. Dry, in chemistry, dry means devoid of water. It doesn't mean it's not a liquid. So, but especially the GreenEarth cleaning method, it's very gentle. The perk that we talked about is heavy, and it beats up the fibers. It's what we call a closed bully. It just kind of has its way. It'll dissolve any bead sequins that, you know, sort of in its way. Where the GreenEarth cleaning method is much gentler, it's lighter. It just isolates the stain and lets it go. And it doesn't dissolve buttons, beads, sequins. And you can dry clean, especially with the GreenEarth method, you can dry clean a thing dozens of times and it still looks great. Yeah. And, you know, the big part of it is that people don't realize, I mean, the cleaning itself is a process. Our dry cleaning machine that I bought in 2007 was I think $80,000. So it's a big investment. But the big part, and this really differentiates cleaners, is the finishing of the garment. So in other words, ironing the sleeves or pressing the body, or not, you know, looking at it saying, oh, we don't want to put a press on this, we're just going to steam it lightly and brush it, you know. So it's really almost more like of a valet service. So if you think about, oh, I've just worn this lovely garment and I want it to be ready to go next time I have the feeling, get it to your dry cleaner and then it's good to go. It's back in your closet. And of course, our contact-free pickup and delivery model that we're doing now 100%.
Such a lovely service. You don't feel poor when the dry clean's at your door. You just feel like it's so luxurious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, people, you have to think about the effects on the environment and the wide-reaching effects of the laundry that you do, because you do such in bulk. But what about people? They don't realize when they're buying like a shirt at the Gap how that affects the laundry system and the water table. And can you explain that to us a little bit?
Well, you know, so many garments these days are polyester or synthetic fibers, microfibers. And the first time you wash that garment, it can sort of leach out of that one garment 900 100,000 or just a huge number, hundreds of thousands of microfibers. They're microscopic, and they go right out your washing machine, down through the piping, out into the wastewater treatment plant. It doesn't get picked up there. These microfibers are inundating our waterways to the point where it's in our drinking water, it's in our seafood, and it's making its way into other food sources. So it's made it into our food stream. And the human body wasn't intended to ingest plastic. So it's an endocrine disruptor. It definitely will disrupt your hormones. And if your hormones are disrupted, your body's just not going to work the way it was intended to.
Well, speaking of that, talk to us about, you were talking before we went on about the water with the ocean. And you're saying that there's a difference now that's going to help.
Yeah, sure. Well, so there are filters available. And the home consumer can add a filter to their washing machine on the outlet side, the part that goes into usually the utility tub. Or there's actually something called a coral ball that they can put right in their wash loads that I think that captures 80% of the microfibers. The filters, they look kind of like the filter you'd put on your drinking water supply. It's just almost like a oil filter in a car, just for lack of a better analogy, it looks like. Right. And if you put that on the drain coming out of your washer, that captures 90% of the microfibers. What we're doing now, GreenEarth Cleaning has been working with the Plastic Soup Foundation, which is trying to help recover the oceans and waterways from microfibers, and have developed a industrial size filter called Sea Clear, SEA Clear. And these are just now becoming available to the GreenEarth affiliate. So we expect to be, by the end of the year, filtering all of our water from our laundry and wet cleaning machines through the Sea Clear filter, so that we can filter out all of the microfibers.
Yeah, and how does it affected the ocean and animals, like in a profound way? Has it? I mean, what have you seen? What is the most profound way that you've seen it affect the?
Well, I think just the fact that they're invisible, but they do affect the human body. So, and imagine an infant who's drinking formula or breast milk, whichever, that has been inundated with these microfibers. Here's a child, early childhood development, and suddenly it's getting thrown with these endocrine disruptors.
Yeah. Wow. It's so much to consider, right?
Right.
What would you recommend to cut down on that kind of stuff? Is it buying like heirloom fabrics? And if it is, what are the heirloom fabrics that you would recommend?
Yeah, well, natural fabrics for sure. I've already mentioned wool. Wool's my all-time favorite. I wear wool all year
And there's
round.
summer and winter wool, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've worn a wool T-shirt under my riding gear when I rode across Death Valley, and it was 105 degrees. Yeah. And I was cool as a cucumber.
Wow.
I wear it all summer long outdoors, and then of course all winter long cross country skiing, but just day to day too. And it's not just for athletic wear; it's for day to day.
How would you convince somebody if they're saying like, I'd rather buy like, I don't have a lot of money to buy expensive clothes, and I don't have money to dry clean. Like, what is the cost analysis benefit of like buying something a little bit more expensive and having it dry clean in the long run? Does that save you a lot of money, or have you?
It does. Yes, it is. It is much more cost effective than constantly, refreshing your wardrobe. But the big thing is the sort of the tactile, or the benefit to your soul.
Right.
Is actually like reconnecting with those pieces that just feel so good.
Oh yeah, that's true. And I was thinking about when you were talking earlier about like my grandparents and stuff, they always, because they didn't have a lot of money, but they would always wear like the same suit to a wedding or to church, and you just remember those times and that specific outfit. It brings such great memories,
Right?
Yeah. So I don't think people feel that connected with their clothes in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Right. And I think it seems to me in society, across the board, there's a lot of disconnect out there. I think we're not as connected with our food anymore. There's just kind of the mindless eating, or not knowing where your food is coming from. And same thing with our clothing. What we have clothing on our body for a great period of time every day. And
and it picks up energy and vibration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can make a statement. I mean, every time you get dressed, you're kind of making a statement. you know? And one thing I'm seeing is kind of after being locked down for 18 months or whatever or more, folks are kind of craving for that return to elegance. So we are starting to see nicer pieces coming in, the Eileen Fishers and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nicer suits coming in, and you can tell that people are...
Everyone's taking off their Old Navy sweats and their...
Exactly, yeah. And they want to go out, and they want to look good, and, just be sharp.
Right, for sure.
We've lost it. I mean, we used to fly, when we used to travel in the 80s, get on an airline, everyone was dressed up, and now it's like jammies and tracksuits and flip-flops, and, it's just, it just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel as special.
No, it doesn't. And then, is there something you would recommend, like a certain wardrobe that you would recommend, like essential pieces for each person, like, 2 wool sweaters and like one, like if you could recommend like a fashion survival kit, kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I think for guys, definitely a couple wool T-shirts, and you can get them in different colors. Black is great because it just hides everything. The cool thing about wool is for a top is it doesn't, it's odor resistant. Yeah, so have you ever put on a synthetic shirt and then 5 minutes later, you're like, gosh, I forgot to put on deodorant. It's the shirt. It's not allowing you.
Or sometimes they just have a weird smell when you get it, that weird plastic, Right.
Which you wonder what that smell is. Right. What's that off-gassing in your lungs? Yeah. Where the wool, first off, it's biodegradable. I mean, you could, when you're done with that wool, you could probably, just bury it in the backyard and it would just decompose over a year or something. Yeah. But it can also be, it can be a cradle to cradle thing where, the Netherlands are way ahead of the U.S. as far as...
Tell us what they do there.
So they've actually got cradle to cradle for fibers, and there's actually dry cleaners there, and this is what we're aspiring to. They'll actually, at the end of a garment's use, they'll collect it, and then they'll send those pieces to a facility that breaks them back down into their original fibers and then recreates new clothing from those fibers, so they never get to the landfill.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. So it's like, and that'd be really cool to do a program where you just keep somebody's in charge of the clothing of the family and regenerates it.
Right?
That'd be really cool. I don't know. That sounds like a royal title or something, right?
Right. Or maybe we need a magic machine.
Exactly. So you live environmentally friendly throughout your everything you do in your life. So tell us what else you're doing to live in your true calling and be part of the environment and kind of change things.
Sure. Well, from the business standpoint, we've got 3 transit delivery vans, Ford Transits, and we love them. They're internal combustion engines. And I've reserved 3 transit EVs. So these are 100% electric. And they're coming out. The transit EVs are coming out in 2022.
Oh, fun.
So my goal is to trade in
What's an EV?
Electric vehicle. Yep, an EV. And and these are 100% plug-in electric.
Wow.
They don't use any fossil fuels. So the goal is, A, to put a solar array on the roof of our process lab in Howell, and B, to have a solar-powered fleet.
Oh, that's cool.
And if everything lines up, that will happen in 2022.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah.
And then also on the homestead, planning to also do solar on our roof and convert to the EVs now. I mean, the jury's in, and EVs they're awesome vehicles. And definitely the wave of the future, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, are you teaching other dry cleaners about things, or are you speaking to people, or you were telling me about certain programs that are starting? What are you seeing that's changing the future of dry cleaning and the future of fashion, so we're making less of a carbon footprint?
Well, I am teaching. I've actually joined a sustainability group for professional textile care industry through CNET, which is a Dutch organization, and that's where I learned about the One Cradle to Cradle program. So I've done talks. I've got kind of a canned, slideshow that I can do for different organizations. I've done a few times. I'm getting much more vocal and recognized in the U.S. dry cleaning market. And now through this program of other professional textile care companies that are focusing on sustainability, I've got this great network of cleaners from around the world that understand the importance of sustainability and how dry cleaning is really a sustainable process. We've kind of gotten away from that. If every time a garment goes to the cleaners versus the landfill, that's made a huge effect on our footprint.
Now, what about cost? Does it cost a lot more to be environmentally friendly as a dry cleaner rather than, I'm guessing, right? But
no,
it's worth it in the end.
Everyone thinks that, but it's been proven time and time again that it's not. And
wow.
every time, I had to make a big expenditure on that machine, but as far as running of the plant operations, it hasn't affected us at all. And actually, there's a cleaners in California that I really like their sustainability. They've gone. They're head and shoulders above where we are at this point, but they've shown, and they've got the numbers to show, every time we do one of these things for the sake of sustainability, it actually falls to the bottom line. They become more profitable.
Oh, wow.
And I think a lot of other industries, if you get into sustainability and business, a lot of other companies and other industries have discovered the same thing.
Yeah. It must be interesting as far as like history, just to watch how the industry goes and like what the clothing is that comes in at the time, especially like during COVID, right? It must have like been a sweeping difference. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure.
Like what it went from to COVID and now?
Everyone was doing business like this. And so they were wearing, I guarantee you, they were wearing dress shirts, button-down dress shirts, but they weren't wearing
And the
dress
last time
pants.
you were on a Zoom, we were all in, you were in your van and we were all in offices in our pajamas.
So we've got the numbers. The shirt stayed pretty steady, but the pants went down. So whatever they were wearing under the desk,
they didn't need dry cleaned.
We don't know, but it didn't need to be dry cleaned. Yeah,
that's hysterical. Yeah. And did your dry? Guessing people just didn't turn stuff in, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. April of 2020, our revenue was down 85%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there anything that was surprising? Because you know how like during like hard economic times, like cookie sales, like expensive cookie sales will go up or something you don't expect. Did you see something that showed up in dry cleaning that you're like, that's odd? Like,
yeah, we
like
did.
Fancy pajamas or something?
What we started seeing was household items.
Oh.
Bedding, sheets, draperies, rugs. I think people discovered
how dirty stuff was.
Because they were home more. It's like, oh, wow, those drapes look horrible. So we got a lot of that in. People discovered that they really liked having their sheets pressed.
Oh, my gosh, what a
just
luxury.
Like at a hotel. Yep. So we've got a number of clients that have started having us launder and press their sheets. And so it was mostly the household stuff, but also wash, dry, fold. We've always done like personal wash, dry, fold. So it's socks, underwear,
like fluff and
t-shirts, and we've always done that, very limited. But we definitely saw a jump, as did the industry. Has seen a jump where I think people are reevaluating their lives. And if you think, I think the average person spends like 3 hours a week doing laundry. And, you can we can pick it up at your front porch and give it back to you for, $2 a pound or something like that. And you just freed up 3 hours a week. Yeah. 12 hours a month. It adds up.
And plus it does feel like it is just a nicety that you feel like you're being taken care of in a way. It's like your mom, maybe your mom left it behind in a way, Yeah, it's a beautiful service. Yeah.
I think, and it's resonating with the young people, because I think the younger generations are used to their mom doing it. Now they're like, they're out on their own. It's like, now what?
Right. Yeah. And it seems like laundry is like always like a contention in every single house. Like, who's doing the laundry, put the laundry away and everything. So having it done is such a beautiful thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing that we have to sell really is time.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we do is we give you more time to enjoy the things that you love in your life.
What about stain removal? Like, can you give us any tips on that for home or like,
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
You get a stain on something, you put it in your yellow bag and you send it to Snedicor.
There you go. There you have it, people.
There's a lot. I mean, I've heard a lot of different sort of home remedies.
Yeah.
For a while, it was if you get ink on something,
Hairspray or
you
something.
put hairspray on it, and then it comes to us, and then we have to get the hairspray out, and then we have to get the ink out.
Yeah.
Another one was if you spill red wine on you, you
Put
can get
white
it out
wine.
with white wine.
Yeah.
And
So now you got to get
again,
both wines out.
we're getting a sangria out of your shirt.
It's like if you have a sick horse, you shoot it, then you got to deal with a gun wound kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
That's awesome. So how is it, like, how are you seeing dry cleaning different now that COVID's sort of transitioning? It went from like basically no pants to, you said people are getting more dressed up and
well, we're still seeing the dress clothes are still down considerably.
Yeah.
People are still not going to the office. And
I guess you said luxury more, right? Like more luxury items.
Yeah. We did have a big boom of weddings this summer. So we're doing tons of wedding gowns and the kind of formal wear that goes along with that. Of course, the 2020 wedding season was a wash, and that's a big, a decent size part of our business. And so a lot of cleaners really felt the effects of weddings. So shirts, dress shirts have stayed relatively stable. I mean, they're down just because a lot of people aren't going to the office. But the kind of day in, day out dress office type clothes is down. But we're seeing more rugs, drapes, bedding, wash, dry, fold. So, we're not quite to 2019 numbers yet, but we're pretty close.
Yeah. Now somebody that's thinking about like laundry and how to change their carbon footprint for the future, like a person just like hearing this for the first time, not realizing how much how much clothes they buy and how they take care of them is affecting the environment. What would you recommend? Like maybe giving some clothes away or picking, like how would you start just doing better?
Yeah, well, I think buying pieces that you love, that you like, oh, I want this and I want to wear this forever versus just that kind of bling that's like, oh, I'm going to just grab that.
Yeah, so maybe stay away from trends.
Yeah. Go with the
Yeah.
classic pieces for sure. And the woolens, the natural fibers, the linens and woolens and silks, they always just feel better than the polyester. It feels like you got saran wrap on when you're wearing, to me anyway, when I'm wearing polyester.
Yeah. And what about, you said laundry, they can get a filter for their machine. What about, is there a certain detergent you should use? Should you use chemical free or?
Well,
is there one you would recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend it. I don't know that much on the domestic laundry chemicals, but I know there's some companies out there. I mean, when I'm at home, I just use Dr. Bronner's, honestly.
Okay.
Works great. It's natural.
Okay.
It's okay to release into the waterways and so on.
Yeah.
So a little dab will do you.
Right. So when you're not doing dry cleaning, what else are you involved in, Jim?
Oh, boy. Well, let's see. I'm a yoga teacher, though I haven't taught in a few years. And I'm also...
What kind of yoga?
Well, my teaching is traditional Shivananda yoga, which is a traditional East Indian yoga. So I do enjoy my own personal yoga and meditation practice. Then for fun, I also teach acro yoga, which is a blending of acrobatics and yoga. In fact, Michigan's first certified acro yoga teacher.
Oh, wow.
So there's those are parts of my life. I've also spent many years teaching ancient traditional skills like fire making and edible medicinal wild plants, fiber making, basically taking...
Is there a term for that, or?
It's known as primitive technologies.
Oh, that's interesting.
Is one term. It's not the greatest term. It's more like sort of Aboriginal technology.
Is that kind of like an alchemist in a way, or like a?
No, it's just really how our ancestors survived and thrived for millions of years.
Is that an association or just something like that you practice? Or
There is, I think, still the Society of Primitive Technologies. There's other groups out there. I actually, for years, founded and ran the Great Lakes Primitive Summer Gathering. And so we would rendezvous up on Bois Blanc Island in northern Lake Huron once a year in the summertime. And we'd have 20 teachers and 100 students learning all these different
So what do you learn
skills.
exactly? Fire making?
Sure, yeah, friction fires, many different types of friction fires, bow drill, hand drill, fire plane, fire saw, et cetera, et cetera.
So a lot of ways to start fires.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about like catching food and cooking, all that? Yeah.
Yep, trapping, building arrows, building bows, building atlatl darts, building atlatls. The atlatl is a prehistoric spear thrower that predates the bow and arrow, and it's predates it by millennia. And the atlatl, it was used right here in Michigan by the Paleo Indians to take down megafauna such as mastodons and woolly mammoths that roamed right around here 15,000 years ago.
So it's called Primitive Technologies? Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. How long have you been doing that for?
30 some years, I guess.
What about like surviving in the wild? Do you do things like that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm very comfortable going out to the wild with just a knife. And, I've done some overnighters and so on in wilderness locations where just went out with a knife and built the shelter and built the fire. And,
Do you guys teach all ages or does it? Yeah, that's interesting. Wow. How long have you been in the wilderness with just a knife? A couple of days or?
Yeah, like a long weekend kind of thing,
Yeah, it turns out it was just your backyard. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
But I have, but I incorporate it because I camp a lot. So I'm a very minimalistic camper because I know that everything I need is already out there if I need to.
Yeah.
Having a tent or a cook stove or something like that is just because I don't have, it's just an expediency thing where, I'm camping for a day. I could spend a whole day building the camp, or I could just get to my camp and sleep and.
So you've gone out completely like just on your own, literally with just a knife and sort of built up a camp and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with like shelter and everything.
Yeah. And
that's really interesting.
It's amazing experience. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how much training do you need before you go out like that? Is it just like
I would have a lot of training, or at least have a safety net so someone can come and get you.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you have any great stories from doing that on your own? Like, did you, some people have the stories where like the buffalo looked him straight in the eye or anything like that. Do you have any stories like that? Well, not in Michigan, there's not buffalo, but do you have any like nature stories like that where you felt really connected and like part of the earth? I'm guessing that's one of the reasons why you do it, right?
Oh yeah. No, there's so many. Probably the coolest thing is just being out by yourself and having a summer thunderstorm just like right there, and it's just that's all there is that wind and that thunder and that lightning. Yeah. And not being a soul in sight. That's always a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it sounds like beautiful and really meditative and just kind of being aware. Right?
Yeah, just being real. And just like, wow, this is I have no control over this. Yeah. I've had so many animal encounters.
Have you?
Yeah. And it turns out, the most dangerous animal is the human, because I've had some encounters with humans that maybe sensed because I was alone or whatever, might have been vulnerable. And so,
Do you have any plans to like take a trip, like a really long wilderness trip, or do anything like, you see people take a trek, for a month or go to Alaska or anything like that? Do you have any?
No immediate plans. I mean, I do a lot of bicycle touring. And actually 2 weeks ago, I did a 5-day motorcycle tour in the UP.
Okay.
My bicycle touring tends to be backcountry, so it'll be, dirt roads, trails, single track, forest, service roads, and so on. And so I incorporate, I like the fact that I can have my modern camping gear all on my bike, but I can incorporate the primitive skills. I can feed I can supplement what I brought with me by foraging.
Yeah, that's great. That came, during COVID, I really thought about, gosh, what are my skills? Am I going to be the first person thrown off the boat? Because what is my skill, right? To survive. So that must have really kicked in and solidified how important that is for you.
It did. It came back. For sure.
Yeah. How long have you been doing that for?
30 some years, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have children? Do you teach it to your family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Have 5 kids. Between my wife and I, we have 5 kids.
And is that, you guys do that as a family, the
not so
survival?
Much.
Yeah.
No, not so much.
Just survive like a normal family. Which is hard enough, right?
Yeah. My wife thinks it's primitive if there's no room service.
That's funny, yeah. But you can catch her something if she needs to, right? It's a good fallback, right?
Exactly.
Or at least go down to the vending machine at the hotel and get candy bar, right?
Yeah, I'll go foraging for her. Look, honey.
Yeah, that would be my skill.
I'm your provider.
That's awesome.
I killed a mastodon, but it's in a Fritos bag.
So what is the future for Snedicor's cleaning? Like you said, you're going to be taking over like more territory and stuff. So what can we look for?
Yeah, well, people might not know that, so 2019, beginning of 2020, we had kind of the traditional model. We had 2 retail facilities or counters where people would bring their items in. And then we had 1 van doing free pickup and delivery. Each one of those entities provided us with a third of our revenue almost equally. And in March 2020, I decided very abruptly to close the 2 stores and put 2 more vans on the road. Mm-hmm. And I wish I'd done it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a really, it has just changed the energy of the business. It's changed the profitability to where even though we haven't got back to 2019 numbers, we're doing great.
That's great.
Very happy with the efficiencies. And suddenly it opened up. It's like, well, why aren't we taking care of customers in Milford? Why aren't we taking care of customers in? And it keeps kind of expanding out. So now we have routes in Chelsea and Dexter and Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti and Whitmore Lake and South Line, Milford, all the way up to Fenton and kind of around back to Howell. But I see the sky's the limit now. We're not locked into, this square, so many, radius around a certain physical location. Of course, now it's different. Having stores is that visibility that people see driving by. Now it's all digital.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, you guys are fantastic. I certainly have loved your service, and I can't wait till you guys move farther out towards me so I can get the service again. But it was like so lovely. And just like you said, it's like knowing that it's all cleaned and pressed for you and waiting for you, it makes you feel loved and like honored and, a great memory. So you guys are doing a great service. And I love the fact that you guys are, doing it intentionally and thinking it through. So the people listening today, and I'm going to ask you to think about this question and then we'll talk about our sponsor. But what is something somebody could do today just a little bit different about their clothing, maybe think of a little bit different for the future to kind of make it a better place with the carbon footprint and the fast fashion and, kind of make less of a impact that way?
Well, I gotta go to Marie Kondo.
Okay.
And take a garment out that maybe you haven't worn. It's just been in the back of your closet. And I think, what is her question? She said,
it doesn't bring you joy.
Does this spark joy?
Yeah.
And kind of winnow out your your wardrobe. Now, don't throw those garments away that you don't wear, that don't bring you joy. Take them to Salvation Army or any other of the organizations, La Casa Collection. Actually, on the Snedicor's Cleaners website now, we have a donations tab. So we will pick up any donations that you have and deliver them to the charity of your choice.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
In fact, in June, so a local charity or local church, St. Mary Magdalene's Church in Brighton, they always ran a clothing drive every June. And it just COVID, they couldn't do it. It just wasn't right. It wasn't safe. So that was our pilot project. We had their parishioners went on our website, filled out the donations tab. we picked up bags of clothing and shoes from their front porches.
Mm-hmm.
And in July, we delivered 1.5 tons
Wow.
of clothing and shoes to Catholic Charity Center for Hope in Flint.
Wow. I love that you're doing that, because I know just in my personal life, you get a bag of clothes and then it sits there forever. It's in your trunk and then you end up just throwing it away because you don't. So that's fantastic. So you guys check that out. And today, our sponsor is Snedicor Cleaners.
Hey.
So tell us about it a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
so if we want to get the service, yeah.
Well, Snedicor's is 100% contact-free pickup and delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And the easiest way to do that is from your phone. You can just text pickup to 701. Nope, I'm sorry. Just text pickup to 517-701-3732. And that'll take you right to our app on your phone. You can schedule the pickup. We're doing more and more on demand. We still do same day and next day service.
Wow.
Today we're probably going to deliver 6 orders that we already picked up this morning and delivered back.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing is just sort of getting on the regular routine. So instead of waiting for you, I need this garment, say, okay, I just wore this garment. Put it in the yellow bag, put it on your front porch. We pick it up, clean it. It's back in a few days. So next time you want it, it's ready to go.
Yeah. Another great thing about your service is the text communications. You can say like, hey, I spilled something on this, or please take better, care of it, or whatever, like the sleeve or whatever. Yeah. So like you guys really have thought of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And not only by text, but the consumers can send a picture too of like, oh, this missing button right here, please repair it, or got wine on my shirt and a picture of it.
Do you guys do tailoring as well?
We do, yep.
Yeah.
We do all kinds of alterations and repairs.
Now, if you want to have something tailored, do you have to come in, or how does that work?
You can come in. I mean,
Okay.
we're not a retail store, but our production supervisor has tailoring experience. So she
Okay.
can measure you, and
Okay.
then it goes to our seamstress and is back in a few days.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you already know, like I need these shortened an inch, you can put a note in, or you can pin them up yourself, and we'll just take care of it for you.
All right. So any final words before we check off for our audience? What you'd like them to think about today?
Reconnect with nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last couple of years have been difficult as a business owner, and I've been focusing lately on getting out at least once a day, going for a bike ride, going for a walk. Turn off your phone, leave your phone at home, and breathe.
And the more we can connect with nature, the more we can realize how to help nature, right? Yeah. So thank you so much for being here, Jim. And I think it's time for us to go off and connect with nature in our good fat life.
Sounds great,
Thank
Karen.
you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, take
Anytime.
care.
Thank you.